Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar all about the service desk evolution story of Domestic and General. We're going to be joined in a second by our presenter Andrew Shepherd, who's team lead at Domestic and General, and he's going to be sharing really some fantastic stories about what they've done there and the amazing things that they've achieved. So Andrew should be with us now. Hi Andrew.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So we're really excited to hear your story. So without further ado, I'll let you get going and I will speak to you again at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about the service desk evolution that's been happening at Domestic and General over the last 12 months, how I've changed a service desk that's been a reactive service desk to a proactive and quite innovative service desk. So let's just go over what we support and what we actually do on a day-to-day basis. So my service desk supports 10 offices over UK and Europe. We support 3,500 staff members, and the team consists of a team lead, which is myself, which I've been a team lead since June 2016, so just under a year. And then I lead a team of 5 service desk agents with a workload of 2 to 250 emails every week and 2 to 250 telephone calls every week, logging an average of about 100 incidents or requests every day with a first-time fix rate of about 50 to 60%. The hours we support are 24/7, and the out-of-hours support is provided by a third party. So what does the service desk actually do? No real surprises here. So it's logging, triaging, resolving and escalating all incidents using our service management tool, ServiceNow. We install some software and hardware, issuing new mobile phones, major incidents, P1s and P2s, so we'll do some initial troubleshooting and we'll then escalate that to the relevant team and also provide the comms out to the business. We do some training and how-tos on various softwares and also some IT advice on most IT systems. But I wanted to talk about what the service desk was pre-evolution. So we were doing a high number of password and citrus resets, which led to a lot of repetitive work that the service desk was doing. There was a lack of clearly defined career path, and the service desk felt that they weren't being used to utilize their full potential. And this last one was an important thing. I think this escalation team deals with this incident. Most of the time we knew where to place an incident, but sometimes things would come up and we weren't very sure. And we would pass an incident through to a team and they would pass it back saying we don't deal with this. And then we'll go to another team and maybe they deal with it, or it would come back and we'd go over to another team and they would deal with it. This led to some long resolution times and also not the best customer service experience as we would be passing these incidents around. So now I want to talk about my perception of a service desk. In some IT departments, it may be seen that the important circles highlighted here are really with the networks, the servers, and the application support team. The MPLS networks, the virtual networks, some applications, and how they're coded. Very little focus is on the service desk. We could be seen as the restart department. Have you turned it off and back on again? Some initial troubleshooting, and then you'll see my arrows go only one way. This service desk could be seen as a log and flog service desk. We do some initial troubleshooting over to the resolver team and they'll resolve it. No feedback, just send it out. So now I want you to think about your personal experience with a service company in the way of a utility company, an airline, mechanic, a mobile phone company, an insurance company, or a supermarket. And now I want you to think about why you're thinking about that particular company. I'm willing to bet that quite a large proportion of the people listening to this are actually thinking about the company because of their customer service experience. When they misspelt your name on a bill, was it easy to get your name changed? When you phoned up, did the service desk agent or the customer service agent fix that first time? Or did they not really care? You get passed around, more frustration, and then finally someone deals with it. Or if they overcharged you, was it easy to get that resolved? With an airline company, did they give you a great experience on your flight, or were they rude to you? These are all examples of service desk experience but this actually makes you think about the company. And this is my point, is that the service experience actually makes you think about what the company is. You don't identify the agent, or you don't identify the company. You identify with the company. I can't be the only one that will go to my friends and say, this company is great or this company isn't so great, based on the customer service experience. And I don't see any difference between what this example shows to actually what your service desk shows to the business of what the IT organization actually is delivering. With the difference between the service desk or the business thinking the IT organization is great or not so great. Let me give you some other quotes. So Steve Jobs says, you've got to start with the customer service experience and work backwards to technology, not the other way around. Bill Gates said, your most unhappy customer are your greatest source of learning. And this was an interesting quote from Henry Ford. It said, the employer is not the employer who pays the wages. The employer only handles the money. It's the customer who pays the wages. So I don't believe this model to be true. I believe this model to be true, where the service desk is equally as important as any other team within the IT organization, because we're the team that interfaces with the business. Yes, there's some calls that are influenced by the escalation teams that they may be contacting the customer, but a high percentage will be just with the service desk. So we separate the IT organization from being seen from a great IT organization to not so great. So it's very important to me that my service desk is giving the best customer service experience. So the mantra for my service desk is I always wondered why someone doesn't do something about that, and then I realized I was somebody. This is a powerful quote. Loads of people will notice various things wrong every day. Why do I need to click on this website? Why do I need to click on this when I want to click on that? Why do I need this software when I can just get this feature enabled in another software and I don't need this extra piece? But very few will actually take that problem and go and fix it. And you'll see from the strategy, I give my team the ability to go and be somebody, to go and fix these problems. So on to the strategy. So the inspiration for my strategy is a TED Talk on TED.com. And it's by Dan Pink on the puzzle of motivation. And this was a complete game changer for me when I actually listened to the talk. He talks about motivation, and he talks about that money isn't necessarily the motivator that most people think it is. It's actually sometimes a demotivator. The actual motivator is autonomy, mastery, and purpose. People should be paid fair market value, but actually these three things really influence how motivated someone is to come to work. Autonomy, being in control of your own destiny. Mastery, to get better and better at something that matters. And purpose, to do something in the service larger than ourselves. And this was a massive talk for me. And I really thought about this and thought, well, if I wanted to be a service desk team lead or a manager, how would I harness these three things and what would I do? So I came up with this service desk triangle. I also wanted to identify the service desk is normally the first rung on an IT career ladder. Therefore, I wanted a strategy which identified and promoted talent, increased knowledge sharing, utilized creativity, and also made better relationships between the business and IT, adding value. And this is what I came up with. We start from the base of this pyramid and go up. So documentation, that's a leveling layer. What I've noticed in lots of IT organizations that I worked in is you get favorites. You get customers call up and say, I only want to talk to Sally. I only want to talk to Dan. And this model is a dangerous model because if Sally or Dan leaves, is on holiday or is sick, the customer service experience really suffers because nobody else knows how to fix that. And I wanted to make sure that I was never in that position. So One of the first jobs that I did as a service desk team lead was document all our procedures. I have a team meeting every 2 weeks. So in that time in between the meetings, my service desk agents would be asked to do 2 pieces of documentation. Someone would write it and someone would check it. And then we would review all of them in the team meeting. I wanted one version of truth. So if someone looked through the documentation in the meeting and actually noticed that they do something slightly differently or something isn't there, we would add it to the documentation, one version of truth. So now we don't have favorites. Anybody can do anybody else's job on the service desk for 2 reasons. One, we want to make sure there's no favorites, and also as you move up through the levels, your agents are actually taken away from the service desk. They're doing other things, and in which case I don't want them to be broken off from doing that and have to be brought back to the service desk because they're the only ones that know how to fix it. We've also documented buzzword spreadsheet. This spreadsheet, if a customer mentions a particular buzzword or a piece of software, I know exactly the Resolver team that can help me. We've also documented the emergency contact spreadsheet. So we've got an emergency contact list where if my team, towards the end of the day, if the office is emptying out and something really breaks, they have access to the on-call rota, all the phone numbers on a laminated sheet which is on each of their desks. No more scrabbling around trying to find the right numbers or not really knowing where to go. They know exactly who to contact. And we've documented other things which just make the service a lot more slicker. Then moving up to the second level. So we've got the virtual network to meet the business. What I've noticed in my years working in IT support is you get really 2 kinds of people. The ones that want to go more technical, the next server engineers, the next network engineers, the next application support engineers. Or you get the more people-orientated, the next managers, the next project managers, the next business analysis, such as myself. So I wanted to cater for both kinds. So in the virtual networks, these are sandpits. My team have access to old servers, old networks, virtual servers, virtual networks, and they can do whatever they want with them. They can take an afternoon off, or they can take a day off using delivery sessions, which I'll come on to in a minute, where they can build themselves onto a hole. They can crash networks, they can crash servers, they can do whatever they want to build it out and build up knowledge, because they're also working with network and server engineers. So we're highlighting talent, and one day I still have this vision in a couple of months that they're going to get so advanced the lights will dim, there'll be a little explosion, and then there'll be smoke coming out, and we'll open the door, and there's my team holding a cable going, that did not work out well. But that's cool. It's all about learning and all about knowing what to press and what not. So if they become the next project, the next server engineer or the next network engineer, they know what to press and what not to press because they've seen the impact. Then let's flip it over to the meet the business. So when I first started Domestic in General, there was a person that used to walk through the office and he had his headphones arranged in such a way on his head that he had his headband over his forehead, like a DJ. And I knew him as Mr. DJ. I didn't know his name or I didn't know his function within IT. And I was lucky enough to do a training course with him and I asked him, what does he do? And he said, I work in a project team for the networks. So this guy was the most senior guy we have in the networks team. If the BAU networks team didn't know how to fix the issue, they would come to this person who would then fix the issue. And I didn't know his name or the function, and I thought that was unacceptable. So one of my first emails as service desk team lead was I sent it out to the whole of the IT department going, hi, my name's Andrew Shepherd, I'm going to be the team lead. I really look forward to working with you. I would like a presentation from each and every team lead. So we went through a process of meeting 23 teams, which are in my IT department. I designed the PowerPoint presentation slides and also booked the meeting room. All they had to do is fill it in and come to the meeting. And we asked 4 things: who's in the team, team function, what the service desk could do better, and how my team could get promoted into your team. The team function suddenly made sure we knew what incidents go to which escalation team. No more guessing, I had it in a presentation. What the service desk could do better. Was there more troubleshooting we could do on particular incidents? Or was there particular screenshots or maybe session IDs that we needed to make that process of fixing that problem much more slicker? And also, finally, how my team could get promoted into that team. Gave them a career path. The traditional path of someone working in service desk is to go from service desk to desktop to server, and that's your career done. But I wanted to open up to the full spectrum. By doing these meetings, suddenly my team has access to 23 different career paths and more. And by doing so, my team now wants to go service desk problem management, service desk network support, service desk server, or actually service desk to a position we don't even have, but we're looking at creating a position because there's someone in my team that's really progressed their knowledge. But then we switched it over to meet the business. I want to know my customer in ways that we've never known our customers before. So we asked them 5 things. Again, I booked the meetings and had the PowerPoint presentations. All I had to do is fill it in and come to the meeting. Who's in the team, team function, key piece of software, key deliverables, and what the service desk or IT could do better. In this, we knew exactly what team did what. Key piece of software. I know what departments will use which software. So if that software or service isn't available, I know who's going to be affected. But also we can do cool things like with SCCM, we can package these apps. Or what we're now trying to do is do proof of concept and now move it on to actually put it in production where we do automated builds. We can literally take a laptop out of the box, say this is a marketing laptop, hit a button and it goes. Puts on the operating system, all the key pieces of software. We have a slick system where we can say we have all this software installed, is there anything else? And 9 times out of 10, it will be no. So we can just give them the laptop. It's a quick, clean service. And then key deliverables. I know on the first of the month who's going to be affected if a particular service or software isn't available because they have to do particular reports, e.g. finance. And what the service desk could do better, or IT. This has been an amazing response. We've had the mundane from I need a second screen or I need a laptop stand to actually the sales director telling us that he runs out of battery all the time when he's on the road and he's got to stop at motorway services, and so does all his team. And I thought this was crazy. Next day I got him a quote for an in-car charger and suddenly my whole sales department is much more productive. They don't need to pull over to motorway services. They can keep on going to meeting after meeting with full batteries because they're charging in the car. Finally, delivery. If you listen to the TED Talk, he highlights a company called Atlassian. It's a company in Australia. It's a software development company. And they do something pretty cool. They have away days every couple of months. And they give their software engineers the day off before. They can study or do whatever they want. But they have to come back the next day and deliver it. They call these days FedEx sessions. This has led to bug fixes. This has led to new features and functionality that the software has never been had. But it's because they've been given the time to learn and understand and think about their ideas. The only catch is they can't do their day job. You can't catch up on your day doing a FedEx session. And I want to do exactly the same. I've called my days delivery days, but it does exactly the same. Every 2 weeks I have a team meeting, and every day before my team meeting, 2 people out of my team can go and study whatever they want. But they have to come back the next day and deliver it to my team. We've had documentation of the monitoring PCs and what the alerts mean. We've had people learn about virtualization, learn about networks, take apart problems, or look at trends that have not been looked at in problem management and actually identify what's going on and try and resolve them in the delivery days. This has been an amazing experience. But the reason why it's built in such a triangle is because the levels below can also be FedEx sessions. The virtual networks, could you highlight a feature that's not available in production and actually showcase it and say, why is it not available? There may be a technical reason, but you're highlighting your talent to people outside your usual sphere. Meet the business, any improvements identified in the presentations can be also taken to a delivery session. And also documentation. Nothing we've written is written in stone. We can improve it, we can change it. I want in a year's time to look back at the first draft, and I see this as first drafts, and it to be laughable to where we've got the documentation, maybe on SharePoint or how we've improved it. But once that was implemented, what did I then go on to do? I went on then to do trend analysis on my instance and requests. I think it's very easy for everybody to create a graph such as this, where it shows on a month, week, or yearly basis where the incidents are placed. And you can see from this example that probably about 55% of all the incidents created for that month is put over to the service desk. And then we work back to other resolver teams, and we can attach some numbers to them. And this is slightly useful, but actually the workload behind this in exact numbers would be more useful. And my experience of that has been that's quite hard to do actually, because the closure codes are used by everybody. And they're quite ambiguous. In this example of these closure codes, if I was making up a shared mailbox on Exchange, or I was giving you access to one, so I was permissioning it on Exchange, but then I add it to your Outlook, is that Exchange or is that Outlook? It could go one of two ways, so you're losing your stat maybe. But also I've worked in companies where the closure codes, I worked with one company that had 1,500 closure codes. And you can imagine after so many times of looking through these closure codes, you just ended up clicking other, completely losing the stat of your workload. So it's very hard to identify the workload for the service desk or any other team. So my objective of trend analysis was to identify and understand the incident and request workload, and then work to reduce the incident and request workload, or try and bring any escalation team workload into the service desk, making that one-to-one relationship between the customer phoning up and the service desk resolving it, not needing to actually escalate it to any other team. I achieved this by actually flipping the closure codes on its head. We don't do closure code 1 by services or software or anything. We do it by assignment group. And that assignment group can then choose what closure codes are beneath it. But it has to be quite general. So there's only one place you could possibly put a particular incident or request. And then we have an other field, because we know that we're not going to hit all of the closure codes all the time. There's going to be stuff that comes up that doesn't apply. And we put it in the other field, then we can analyze that and trend that down by adding other closure codes that suddenly we realize we've missed. So in this example, we've got service desk as category 1. We could have desktop server as we do within domestic in general. But in this example, service desk is closure code 1. And we have closure code 2, where it has 6 codes: Citrix resets, Exchange, password resets, software installs, VPN, and other. So we can suddenly produce a graph very easily on a day, a week, a month, a year. We're going to say this example is over a month. And we can see 100 incidents get logged for Exchange and email. Now we could be more precise. We could actually break that down into closure code 3. We can either, as I do, ask my service desk agents or various teams, what do you assign to closure code 2, Exchange and email? And they may come back with various things. Or I can actually take apart the 100 instance and actually find it myself. But in this example, we've expanded out the Exchange and email to feature calendar access, distribution list amendments, meeting room access, and other. So suddenly now we can produce a graph that's very macro level. We've got distribution amendments. So there's 60 calls in there. There's 100 calls linked to Exchange and email. So we can say 60% of the Exchange and emails are made up from distribution list amendments. And we can do one of three things with this. We can either try and resolve these incidents through problem management so they don't even come up. We can do user education like we have with password resets. We've recommunicated out the self-service tool. And you'll see from the statistics in a couple more slides how we've massively reduced the password resets. Or, in this case, we could maybe look at delegating this out to managers or team leaders for them to actually take control of their own distribution list and make sure that we don't do this. But I've actually started going a bit crazy with my statistics on ServiceNow. I treat it a bit like a comic book where I have from the high level to macro level of what my service desk are doing. So going from the top down and from left to right, we've got incidents logged over 12 months. And then what my service desk are logging over 12 months. We can start to see a disparity and if other resolver groups are actually logging their own tickets. The incidents logged by the service desk over by source, I can see how many emails are being logged every month, how many phone calls, and how many walk-ups. And I can see if I can trend them down as I'm trying to do. The instance logged by assignment group, so I can see where my instances are going out to. And then I can see the instance by first-time fix template. We use a lot of first-time fix templates within domestic in general. Password resets or citrus resets are big key ones because we've identified that it's actually quicker to do the job than actually log it, and sometimes it's not logged. Not with first-time fix templates. All I have to do is enter the username, click the template, click save. It fills in all the fields and closes it. I keep the stats as accurate as I can. And the service desk closure codes, we can then see what my service desk is closing over a day, a week, a month, and I can make sure I can trend these down by identifying the major places that we're resolving the most calls to. And then I can also show what my service desks are actually doing by the instance logged, first time fixed, and then closed. I can see who's logging the most calls, who's closing the most calls, and if there's disparities, why. On the resolved calls, is there more knowledge sharing that needs to happen to make sure that everyone's closing the same amount of numbers? And then finally, we have misassignments of 2 or more. This is something I'm really hot on. If we have an instance logged to a resolver team, that's 1 assignment. And then comes back to the service desk, that's 2. But if it needs to go to another assignment team or goes back and then comes back to the service desk and there's a bit of dialogue, then suddenly this isn't a great customer service experience. So I'm very keen to trend anything over 2 or more misassignments and make sure I trend that down. Finally, the agents is 2 or more months old. I want to identify any stale incidents and then try and trend that down. So I think from the strategy that you've seen and trend analysis, there's been some benefits noticed by the service desk and also the business. So from the business, we've reduced the Citrix and password resets massively. They don't need to phone up for such a mundane thing. Proactive trend analysis, we're also trending things down so they don't need to phone up for their instance. They can keep on the road. They don't have to stop. Then reporting, we can send out reports saying how successful the IT service desk are and what we're doing. The remote software installations and automated laptop builds and PC builds, we can make sure that our service is slick and quick. We can click a button and deploy software to 30 or 40 people all at the same time, no manual installs. And with automated laptop and PC builds, we can make sure we include all the software from day one in a very quick way. Nothing's missed. But we're also building on some of our documentation. We're trying to identify the support structure and ownership behind all software. Earlier I mentioned a buzzword spreadsheet. We're now building off that, and we're actually expanding that. So I want to know the description of some software. Sometimes we're called up and we're blindsided by some software titles or some terms. But if we could look it up on a SharePoint page and we know the description, we're much more on the front foot. Also identifying the business owner and then the resolver team that's going to help me try and fix that maybe support hours, and other documentation that we put together for these. And we're also proactively asking our customer how we can improve. We're not guessing or assuming, we know what can help our customer because they've told us in the Meet the Business sessions, and we're feeding back to them how we're improving them or how we're taking that feedback and improving that. And then hopefully you'll also see the improvements from the service desk triangle through the delivery sessions, through the Meet the Business, through documentation. We're starting to give a much better service to our customers. But then the service desk, they also see some benefits. So 2 of my team want to be the next server and network engineers. And absolutely, they're green-lighted to do this. They get to work with the server and network team through delivery sessions and then virtual networks. They also get to go over to the data center and help them do changes. The trend analysis, 2 of my team are very heavily into trending and analysis. So they really lend their skills towards this. So they can see where the high IT workloads are, how we can try and resolve it, or how we can expand out the closure codes so we get a more better understanding about what people are resolving. SCCM packaging and automated builds we've touched upon. And my service desk are represented in the cab. It may sound mundane, but my service desk will sit there and click through the schedule of the cab, where I bring up all the changes for them to be discussed in the cab. But there's also a deeper meaning or deeper motive why they're there. It's because if they are the next server, the new network engineer, or anything, then they may be raising their own changes. So this gives them a chance to actually see what a cab looks like, how changes are challenged, and what information are included in changes. But also they can go to those network teams and server teams and application support teams and any other teams raising changes and say, please, can you explain this change to me? Give me a deeper understanding about why you're doing this change, how you're doing it, and it increases their knowledge sharing. And also the strategy, the service desk triangle. So all the layers have tried to improve the service desk through delivery sessions, through virtual networks, through Meet the Business. They're building new relationships they've never had, and documentation. Everybody knows how to do everything. They're making sure that my service desk is a more rounded and improved service desk. But as a result of these initiatives, I now conduct monthly presentations to my CIO and my Director of Service Management and Operations, showing stats and trends, work being completed by the team outside their normal service desk duties, and also highlighting trends and feedback from customers. This gives them a complete picture about what the service desk are doing, how we're improving the service, what the customers think about IT, and also gives them the chance to actually see what talent is coming from my team. There's a very good reason for this. It's because the circles of influence I try and work towards. I know if my team stays within the green of the service desk, nobody knows about what work they're doing, what the great work they're doing. But if we start engaging in delivery sessions, the Meet IT, Meet, and then virtual networks and documentation, suddenly we start working with senior managers and managers, and they suddenly start seeing where the talent's going to come from for the next server engineer, next network engineer, or the next problem manager. But then by doing these presentations, my director and CIO also get to know about my team. My CIO and director and senior managers know my team by name. They know exactly what skills they offer and what they're doing. My team are not hidden away. They're absolutely highlighted, and in every opportunity I get to highlight their skills, I take that. So what next? Well, we're going to do some software training using Skype for Business to be sent Europe-wide, where the customer will tell us what they want training on. And we're going to get the experts, the resolver teams, the application support teams, the service desk, the desktop support teams, to actually do these sessions. We're going to record them. So 100 people may be able to join from all across Europe, and they'll have a training session, maybe lasting 10 minutes, but they know exactly how to use a piece of software. No more Chinese whispers, no more, I think this is how it works, click on this, do this, and then it gets passed down and they get slightly confused, they're going to know. They're going to be able to come on a website and replay these training sessions, and they'll be able to know exactly how to use this. There's obviously more Meet the Business sessions. We've met 18 teams so far. There's many more to go. My service desk are now helping with the laptop refresh scheme. So the desktop support team traditionally were doing these laptop refresh schemes. But my team, through trend analysis of trending down the instance, have now bandwidth to help with this, to make sure my business had the most up-to-date laptops and the fastest laptops to make them more as productive as I can. We're also working with escalation teams to see what responsibilities we can take into the service desk and speed up the turnaround times, for instance. So we've taken responsibility for file restores, issuing mobile phones, some other things we've taken responsibility for, and we're also working to take other things into the service desk. Again, making that one-to-one relationship between the customer and the service desk much stronger, and we're not needing to take it to escalation teams. So what's that done statistics with all these initiatives? So over the last year, we've seen the first-time fix rate raise from 24 to 62%, but then massive reductions seen in other places. The number of incidents logged by the service desk is down 44%. Password resets down by 92%. Incidents logged 2 or more times down by 52%. Incidents logged by phone down by 61%. And incidents logged by email down by 21%. You can see that we've achieved some amazing numbers by following these strategies and doing active trend analysis. So I want to now talk about some of the challenges I've faced. So there's been two kinds. There's been the buy-in and keeping momentum. In the buy-in, there's no getting away from it. It's quite an alternative strategy. And I've been very lucky working at the company I do with the foresight that senior managers see. So when I presented the triangle to my boss, he was really on board with it and really excited by it. I actually did then a town hall presentation to the whole of my IT department, where my director and my CEO were very on board with it and very excited by the innovation. But this also gave me a chance to tell the IT department how my service desk was going to come to them and ask them questions or ask them to work with them in ways they've never thought about doing, and to be ready for it. But also getting key teams on this change bus. If you think about a change like a bus, you have people waiting at the bus stop, and they don't want to get on something that's new and a bit different. And as you start driving away, some people start jumping on it, and other people start jumping on it. And those people really against your change, or the ones throwing stones, actually maybe get less to the bus stop, but actually may come on the bus, because I realize actually the change isn't as bad as they think it is. And that's been something I've tried to do. I've been trying to get key teams, the teams that I pass most of my instance over, to get them on, say, the closure codes initiative. But keeping momentum. Every 6 months across my company, we have objective setting, where we have to set some objectives for my team. And we've set objectives. So for the people that want to get more technical, we set some technical objectives. And with the people that want to get more people-orientated, we've set them up with other teams and how they want to work with them. But my experience of this has been that it's revisited every 6 months. Whether or not you passed or succeeded is defined every 6 months. And I wanted to make sure that the bit in between was revisited. So I have a monthly one-to-one with my team. And in that monthly one-to-one, I make sure my team does a monthly presentation based on their objectives. So in the case of two of my individuals, two of my team that want to do network and server, they're now doing presentations where they go to the server team, go to the networks, and actually learn about something, and then present it. This is now starting to go a bit over my head, so I've now asked for the server managers and network engineers to come into these meetings and really ask them questions, or ask them to think about certain topics they may not have thought about. It's all encouraging. It's not meant to be a discouraging thing, and it's to make sure that my team is progressing their knowledge in the right way. But also, we're highlighting talent. we're showing where maybe the next network engineer or server engineer will come from. And also we're showing reporting metrics to show the changes that are making a difference. We're seeing how the incidents are coming down, how the phone calls are coming down, how our first-time fix rates are going up through these initiatives, so you can see the momentum gathering. Finally, this is my final slide. So this is a personal slide. So in 1985, it's not a great time to be Steve Jobs in Apple. They don't really like him. They're trying to get rid of him. It's a bit hard to get rid of employee number 2. So they do the next best thing. They send him away from the Apple campus and they give him his own office to build what he calls the Apple Macintosh. He takes some engineers with him and they go out for an away weekend and they party and they do everything. But he gathers everybody together and says this line, "It's more fun to be a pirate than join the Navy." And this embodies exactly what Apple stand for, the think different culture. Challenge convention, the Navy, with unconventional thinking, pirates. And I can tell you by first experience, it's much more fun being a pirate than in the Navy. Think unconventionally. So I encourage everybody to try and be a pirate every so often and think unconventionally with improvements. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed that, actually. Loads of great tips to take away, I think, actually, there. So a couple of things, if I can ask you just a couple of questions, if you've got the time.
Yeah.
So I really liked your point about, towards the end when you sort of started talking about providing metrics to actually show what return you've had for some of these changes. And I think that's something that's going to be really, really important for people to think about at the very beginning before they kind of start trying to implement or change anything in terms of, how to prove the concept, I guess, and keep that going. But would you sort of, what would your advice be though, to know what you're going to be looking at the beginning? Because sometimes when you're doing something in a new way, it's not always clear at the beginning what kinds of things you're gonna want to show or measure at the end.
Yeah, I would say it's really understanding what your workload is through trend analysis. So with instance and requests that you really want to trend down your instance, your kind of faults. And by doing trend analysis, we suddenly really got a picture of, hey, we're doing a lot of stuff in this area. And we could actually trend this down by actually resolving these problems. Yeah. So actually by doing that, we make sure that the workload is much easier for us to be more proactive.
So yeah, okay. So it's kind of addressing, making sure you're addressing specific challenges by what you're kind of looking at doing or starting. Yeah, fantastic. And you mentioned about the senior management team sort of really getting to know the service desk team there and having, them having a lot more visibility. And how did the team feel about that? Do they quite like that?
It's a bit apprehensive, I must admit, when suddenly your director is saying, well, how are you doing that? Let's have a meeting. Yeah. But actually they've really embraced it because they're not hidden away and they get to really have the exposure that they know that people really senior are really caring about what they're doing. As my first few slides were, that the kind of service desk, if you're having the importance of the service desk as a really tiny circle, then you feel a bit devalued. But by doing this, my team know exactly that the really senior management are really looking in on what they're doing and really taking an interest because they also share this whole idea that the service desk is actually really important and we're the eyes and ears of the IT department as general. So they're really important. It's really important to them that my service desk are doing the best job they can and really encouraged by the fact that these initiatives and stuff they're doing is being highlighted and it's not really hidden away or I'm not taking credit for what their work is doing.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, and that ties in with the motivational kind of stuff that you were talking about as well. Fantastic. Yeah. So that probably brings us to the end of this session for today. I want to thank you again for sharing all of that with us, and there's some amazing stuff there. So, we're recording this session so people can go back and flick back through some of those slides. So, yeah, thanks very much, Andrew, and hopefully we'll see you on another webinar again soon.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.